And now, words of wisdom with Adam Carricker.
Is that your makeup? Or was there a crayon orgy on your face?
Welcome back to Fourth and Pain, the only pro wrestling show to be hosted by an NFL player and a weight loss champion, Redskins defensive end Adam Carricker, everybody.
Hi.
He's on the Twitters at Adam Carricker94. I'm former wrestling announcer turned weight loss champion Chuck Carroll. Follow me at the Chuck Carroll with 2 R's and 2 L's. This is Fourth and Pain, and as long as we're plugging the tweeters at Fourth and Pain and like us on Facebook to boot. Adam, just a few short weeks now from WrestleMania. You getting excited yet?
No.
Well, at least you're honest. Well,
I'm just not excited about these matches, but we've discussed that. What do we got on tap for today?
Well, I want to talk about the return of The Undertaker. That's finally official. The CM Punk versus him. We called this coming a long time ago. Now,
Are you excited about that match? Are you
yes.
Are you excited about Cena, Rock, and Lesnar, Triple H too?
Well, not so much
I'm not,
Lesnar,
but are
Triple
you?
H, but I'll go for the Cena versus Rock. But I'm not excited for Lesnar versus
They're
Triple
going to add a
H.
stipulation to that. They have to. It's going to be like no holds barred or best of 3 or something.
Well, they're going to go hardcore. There's, little doubt in my mind that they'll wind up going hardcore in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
But, we'll get to that.
But CM Punk Taker, that's kind of your ultimate your
Dude,
match of
I
this?
think that the
All right.
psychology on that alone, and even though last week I ribbed The Undertaker for being a little bit out of shape on his return, I think that he and CM Punk are just going to put on an El Dandy of a match. And that in itself is going to be worth the price of the pay-per-view. Now, you've already stated, based on the card, you're probably not going to pay for this thing.
I might be, and I'll tell you why. Because I think, I don't know, I'm giving away one of my picks here. I think this could be the year that the streak ends. He's 20-0. He's not going to reach 25-0. Wrestling psychology dictates that it has to end. You have to lose your last match for whatever reason. I think this could be it.
Well, and that's an interesting discussion that actually you and a teammate, Adam Geddes, we've had him on the show earlier. You guys were having that on Twitter this week, and I jumped in. And, I said to both of you, if Taker is going to lose, this is the year to do it, just to pass that torch. And then Geddes presented the idea of maybe, well, then there would be a passing the torch ceremony. Now, I don't necessarily foresee any sort of ceremony or certificate or diploma being handed out in that regard, but we've always said that if Undertaker were to lose, he would have to pass the torch to the next generation. And frankly, I think that John Cena is established enough that maybe he's not the right guy to pass the torch to. I think that it would be CM Punk.
I agree, and then you would have 2 megastars in the WWE. Right now, everybody knows who John Cena is, even people who aren't wrestling fans. This could launch CM Punk into that stratosphere, and there could be 2 megastars back in the day like there was Hogan and Warrior and Austin and Rock. It could be Cena and Punk.
Right, and just going back to the match real quick before we move on, the best wrestlers in the world were not the best wrestlers in the world.
No, not at all. I mean, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Jake the Snake Roberts.
I mean, these guys were average in the ring,
right?
Shall we say at best.
But it's that charisma, that psychology that they had
excited.
that made the match so great. And even
John Cena,
and exactly
not a ring technician.
4 moves of doom.
That's like calling me fast.
And even if he's not in the best shape, I think that his experience, his wisdom, just his overall business smarts are going to lead to a heck of a match. Again, well worth the price of admission. Now, speaking of The Undertaker, sad news this week in the WWE world with the passing, not a gimmick, of Paul Bearer. William Moody passed away at the age of, I believe, 59. Just a sad, sad thing. This is a guy that I don't think that The Undertaker would be who he is without Paul Bearer in the beginning. Otherwise, Adam, it would have just been another one of those failed wacky gimmicks for WWE.
What's funny is I'm in the training room on Tuesday, maybe it was Wednesday. It was the day after he had passed. And everybody in the training room knew who Paul Bearer was.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody in there is a wrestling fan, but they all know who Paul Bearer is. And he hasn't been around, I don't know, consistently, for 10 years?
Something like that.
So he made a mark, and he's not even a wrestler. And I guarantee he helped launch The Undertaker into the Undertaker stratosphere.
Absolutely. And everybody knows who he is. And you didn't realize just how well-known he was, but his passing got all sorts of mainstream attention, national mainstream attention. We're not just talking about the TMZs of the world. We're talking about USA Today. I believe it was on the Associated Press wire. I mean, just every single place that you could possibly imagine, they were talking about the death of Paul Bearer, and certainly a sad occasion. And again, he really made The Undertaker, because if you go back, you look at some of The Undertaker's earlier matches, the costume that he was wearing, it was really over the top, kind of bad television kind of costume. And yet he made that gimmick believable just with that kind of over the top showmanship, that urn. Yes, yes, yes. You know, that whole gimmick. It just made it fun to watch, and it really, like we said, launched The Undertaker into the stratosphere. So, Paul Bearer, rest in peace, buddy. You will be missed.
Absolutely. It's a sad story. Is it not a little ironic that The Undertaker returned after being gone for almost a year the very night before he passed away?
Ironic doesn't even begin to describe it.
To be honest with you.
Dude, I mean, I believe that I texted you that. I was like, wait, this is nuts.
You did. I stole one of your lines in the text. And I used
well,
it on
that's
the air.
okay, because I stole the 4 moves of doom thing. But anyway, it is ironic, and The Undertaker hasn't spoken publicly about that yet. I think that had he not been making his return to WrestleMania, he obviously would have issued some comments. But you got to think that the man himself, Mark Calloway, is certainly hurting because he lost his friend.
And you can tell he made an impact on a lot of folks, because there's even folks over in TNA, when I watched Impact, they were talking about Pooh Bear, I guess was his nickname, and they talked about it. 3 or 4 guys did on their Impact broadcast about how much he meant to them and wishing him and his family the best now that he's passed on.
He loved the business, and ironically, he got the name Paul Bearer because before he got into the business, he was a Paul Bearer.
He was an actual Paul Bearer.
He was a mortician.
Was The Undertaker an Undertaker?
No.
Oh,
no,
okay.
The Undertaker has always been a wrestler.
That would be a really tall Undertaker.
But on that sad note, we have to press on. A couple of other WWE notes to pass along here. Adam, you think that The Rock's mic skills have improved?
I do. Last year, John Cena embarrassed him, and I was embarrassed for The Rock, because prior to last year, I thought he was the greatest on the mic of all time. I thought he was the Michael Jordan of the mic, and I thought John Cena was just some cheesy Fruity Pebble. And he won the war of the words. Clearly, week after week after week, he won the war of the words. I loved what took place last Monday night on Raw. I forget who John Cena quoted. He quoted a famous athlete. Great quote. Very famous athlete, we all know. But then The Rock says, you want to quote famous athletes? I'll quote a famous athlete for you. And he said, you have to have heart in all the right places. And he says, you know who said that? Lance Armstrong. He was full of crap, and so are you. I thought that was a great line, and I thought for the first time in a face-to-face mic confrontation, The Rock kind of spanked John Cena a little bit.
Well, you know, I think back to, I think prior to that, my favorite exchange between the two was last year when they had the rap and rock concert between the two. That was pretty good stuff. And John Cena's freestyles out there absolutely killed, and John Cena absolutely won that round. But kudos to The Rock for bringing it back. Now, they're going to be wrestling at WrestleMania outdoors. Still going to be chilly at the New Meadowlands MetLife Stadium up there in New Jersey, just outside of New York. And Adam, cold weather, I don't even know how that's going to affect the wrestlers, but for the fans, if it's a chilly night, it's going to suck.
I'm going to be honest with you. I love it because it doesn't look like we're getting to go to WrestleMania. They're gypping us. So I'm going to be at home watching it on my TV. And for the people in the stands, your problem. At home, it's going to be awesome, and I'll tell you why. Because when you watch playoff football or you watch football games in December, the cold breath, you can see their breath, and they're in each other's faces, coming out of the helmet and the face mask. It's going to be great to see The Rock and Cena right before the match, right before the bell rings, in each other's faces. You can see their breath right in each other's faces. Brock Lesnar and Triple H, you can see their breath. I think it's going to be awesome. You're going to see the steam, the sweat rising off of their bodies. I think it's going to be a lot more fun to watch.
Well, you know, better April than January when the Super Bowl is going to be next year, but it definitely will be fun to watch. It's a big gamble for WWE.
Do you like the gamble?
I like it.
I love it.
You got to shake things up every now and again. I think that it's a fine idea.
And it's because I'll be at home watching it.
And lastly, you know, pictures of the WrestleMania 29 set have leaked out. I believe the company that's been tasked with putting together the backdrop for it had tweeted out some photos. And Adam, you know, we're pointing to it, and we'll put this up on fourthandpain.com and link to it from our Twitter page at Fourth and Pain, you can see a huge likeness of the Statue of Liberty and a cityscape that is so big that a guy who is on a scissor lift and working on it literally looks like an ant compared to the size of these buildings. So it looks like it's going to be the New York skyline. Very cool.
I like it. I think it looks pretty epic. I like when there's a big event that they surround it. The Super Bowl field. Do you remember the old Super Bowls, maybe even 4 or 5 years ago? This is going to be the most trivial thing, but it just bothers me. At midfield right now during the Super Bowl, it just has the NFL logo. And then I believe at the 30-yard lines, it has Super Bowl and whatever, the Roman numerals.
Okay.
I remember it used to be Super Bowl and the Roman numerals and some big decoration right at midfield. And that just bothers me.
Huh.
I don't know why. It's the most trivial little thing.
You want them to go back to the big Super Bowl logo?
It's like when I watch the Rose Bowl. I expect to see a big giant rose in midfield. I think when people make a big deal out of events and do something special like what the WWE is doing, if you check out these pictures on our Twitter page, I think it's pretty cool.
I like it as well. Let us know. Give us your feedback at Fourth and Pain. But on the other side, Adam, we're going to come back. We're going to talk to a teammate of yours, guy that was not at the Super Bowl, but certainly was at the Pro Bowl, Lorenzo Alexander. Don't go anywhere. He's up next on Fourth and Pain.